Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Street Fighter! Released in December of 1994 with a runtime of 2 hours and 42 minutes and directed by Steven DeSouza, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia, Ming-Na Wen, Damien Chapa, Kylie Minogue, Byron Mann, and Wes Studi, along with 8 or 9 other characters, and then all these other support characters and back-end characters and extra characters. It was a big effort. Production budget of 35 million, domestic take of 33 million, foreign take of 66 million, for worldwide of 99 million, bringing in a nice little profit of $64 million. Not bad for a punchy kicky movie, widely panned by critics and viewers everywhere. Characters. And, well, to begin with, this is straight up a live-action cartoon. I was getting a real G.I. Joe or even a big-budget A-Team episode feeling out of this. It's kind of crazy. We'll start with Guile, the all-American French guy. Oh yeah, Guile, he's Colonel Guile. He's the guy in charge of the AN. Never found out what AN stood for. Anyway, he's a man in charge with a vengeance mission. He's full of great posing, bad lines, fantastically bad speeches. Large-scale silliness comes from good old Colonel Guile, and I liked him. He's got his refined yet gravelly voice. He's throwing punches and big kicks around the place. He's all musculature and mayhem. He's extra manly, and he was fun. Bison, beautifully exaggerated by the late Raul Julia. As far as villains go, this guy is well out of the park. He's deep into crazy land. And they work with that. They really, really lean into the fact that he's nuts. But he doesn't think he's nuts. He's out to save the world by subjugating it. It's kind of cool. He's one of my favorite characters in this movie. He's completely silly and the perfect villain for this level of silliness. He gets to hang out with Cobra Commander Ming the Merciless. He's up there. Chun-Li, ace reporter and covert operative, hunting down Bison. She's on her own little undercover vengeance mission, and they don't reveal her intention straight up. I mean, yeah, obviously she's not. You know that just from the start. But they pretend that you wouldn't know that as they go through the story, which is nice. Ming-Na Wen probably does all her own stunts. I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me at all. She's fun to watch. She's over the top like everyone else. She's super hammy, but everyone else is super hammy. So she's just maintaining the status quo. Speaking of super hammy, Kylie Minogue as Cammy. That's a terrible rhyme. I don't know what to tell you about Cammy. She is a good little soldier. She runs along after Guile and is Guile's right-hand woman. She's tough, she's fast, good with pistols, better with her fists. It's Cammy-esque. Yeah, alright. You can see the essence of Cammy in here. Got the pigtails and the tight singlet top, so it looks like Cammy. She's fun, she's fine. No better or worse than everyone else in this film. Sagat, a much more involved character than expected. He's actually got a fair bit to do in this. Definitely second place villain to Bison. Not necessarily a good one, not necessarily spectacular, but he's definitely there and he forwards the plot along. What resembles a plot anyway. Then you've got Ken and Ryu. Alright, these guys. I don't know what to make of these guys. These are the big deal characters, right? These are the two of the main characters used most often in the games, I believe. These are major characters who are kind of sidelined. If you're a big Street Fighter fan and you love Ken and Ryu, this movie may have upset you a little bit. The two of them seem to work well enough together on screen. There's no amazing bro camaraderie. You don't really feel a connection here, but they don't feel distant and they don't feel kind of like a poor match. So they do their thing, and they do their thing quite well. I think that's how you could describe most of the characters in this movie. They do their thing, and they do their thing well. Their thing really is quite a two-dimensional thing. Their thing is they fight. So any sort of character that managed to jam into these characters is kind of welcome. That's all the main characters, the ones with the most screen time, the most to do with the story. But the movie still happens to include Dalsum, Zangief, Balrog, Blanca, DJ, T-Hawk, Vega, and E-Honda. It's a busy movie, and they managed to give nearly every one of these characters quite a few lines and something to do. But Murray, were the characters true to their origins? I've only ever played the computer game, so I have no idea. I don't think they were very good characters. They weren't spectacular, but they looked right, and they did what they needed to do, and even at their worst, they were at least entertaining. I'll be giving the characters in this, surprisingly enough, a 2.75. As far as fight game adaptations go, this was pretty solid. Story. Much to my shock, there was one. And there was almost plot and actual character development. Kind of. What's going on? This isn't what I was expecting. This isn't what I came here to see. I sat down to watch a fight movie. What I got was this kind of complicated A-Team-ish war movie story thing. It had an actual story structure. It played out like a story. Again, this sounds obvious, except I wasn't expecting that. Who would have been expecting that? Just before you think I'm having a stroke or something. No, it wasn't a good story. It wasn't something remarkable. It wasn't something revolutionary. It was, like I said, it's like a big budget A-Team episode. But it was there. Something that these two were missing. So there's that. Briefly, the story is Bison has taken over a country, which we rename Bisontopia or something like that. And the AN, whatever that stands for, if I find out, I'll put it up on the screen. They've been sent in to liberate the town, maintain some order, keep a lockdown and everything, and get rid of Bison. You got Guile with his vendetta. You got Chun-Li with her vendetta. You got Ken and Ryu in there with not really a vendetta, their con artist scheme that went sideways. They're trying to get out of it or into it or just get profit from it. Sagat's got his own angle. Oh yeah, and there's the rescue mission for Guile's best mate, Charlie, who's been captured and they're turning him into a monster. It's bizarre. And so you've got multiple angles of story all converging on this one point. The good guys charging in, the bad guys building up for world domination. Then there's big old fight in the middle. It's a full-on throwdown at the end here. This isn't a couple of guys duking it out. Well, they are. But in the background, you've got a major military operation underway. Rescuing all the kidnapped civilians and aid workers. That's right. That's where all this started. Bison took over the country and kidnapped a whole bunch of people. And that's why the AN was going in, and that's why Guile ended up defying orders to stand down, rally up a whole bunch of soldiers, and go and take the base. I knew there was more to it, which is, again, shocking by itself. Was it told well? It's told okay. It wasn't fantastic. It's skippy, it's jumpy, it's got some really big holes in it, and lots of contrivances, and lots of just happenstance, happens. I know it sounds like I'm raving about this amazing story. Let me just reassure you and repeat myself. It's not good. But there is one, which I suppose in itself is good. I don't know if it was necessary. I mean, it's always necessary to have a story, but no one was expecting a story. We could have just had a whole bunch of fighting in a cage match for no reason. And you know what? We've been fairly happy with that. Maybe Mortal Kombat and DOA just lowered my expectations so much that anything after that is good. It isn't in any way a contrived tournament. I think that's what stood out to me. The others I've watched have always been about the tournament, the great tournament, the great, amazing tournament. No. This is a war story. It happened to be a whole bunch of punchy, fighty, kicky sequences, but they were meshed in fairly well for what it is. Okay, again, by fairly well, I mean fairly well for one of these movies. It's still a very contrived string together, but they made some effort to disguise it. Anyway, story. Is it well executed? No, but it's sufficient. I'm going to give story a 2.75 as well. It's not great, but they really tried. It's one of the best efforts I've seen in a fight movie to make a story out of it. Look and feel. As I've said several times now, this looks and feels like a really big budget, extra long episode of the A-Team. Or a much, much lower budget, go with G.I. Joe. It really, really does. You know what? It kind of works. The look and feel is consistent from start to finish with the different scenarios and setups. When it's the AN running around under Colonel Guile, it looks like the A-Team. It looks like a military operation with military people and military gear and hardware and vehicles, and they love their boats in this one. We got a lot of people on the water. Kind of cool. Bison's lair looks very super sci-fi. Looks extra Nazi sci-fi dictatorship-esque sort of layout and look and feel. And when you get the two combining, it's weird enough that it's interesting. So Yeah, surprisingly, that works. Uniforms, outfit, and gear. Eventually, everyone in the movie looks like, well, at least pretty close to the arcade game counterpart. I wasn't expecting it. I honestly didn't think we'd get to see Cammy with the long pigtails and the tank top. I didn't think we'd see Guile getting around in his singlet. I didn't think we'd ever see Ken and Ryu in their white and red. Apart from Bison. Bison always looks like Bison. Bison is always grandiose, spectacular Darth Vader sans faceplate. To quote the animated movie Megamind, the difference between a bad guy and a villain is presentation. And Bison is most definitely a villain. Yeah, they managed to get pretty much everyone down to their classic looking, or at least a close representation, of their arcade outfits. I want to talk about some of the music now and some of the voiceovers and stuff, because you've got this background military chatter all the time, as well as some really interesting radio choices, things being played over the radio in different scenes. That's interesting, but it's the musical options they use every now and then. Just some are subtle and quite clever, others are blatant and kind of amazing. One scene in particular, Vega is walking into the ring to fight Ryu, and they're playing that, what's it called? That one. That one plays. And in comes Vega, and he's parading around to this. I just lost it. That's when I realized that this movie knows exactly what it's doing. If you're upset because they're not taking it seriously or because it's too silly, then you've missed the point of this one. You've missed what the director and the writers were doing. It was clever. This movie was occasionally and undeservedly clever. I don't know what this level of cleverness was doing in this film, but I for one appreciated it. They pulled in quite a few sound effects from the arcade game. You got some whistling boom noises when Guile chucks some kicks around. You've got some very excessive punch noises when people hammer into each other. It sounds like, people are exploding. Someone's punching holes in walls when they're just punching into each other. Sounds pretty cool. You don't get any of the visual special effects though. You don't get the sonic boom effect from Guile's kick. You don't get, you nearly get one of Ryu's punches. That word I can't say. That, can't pronounce it, not going to try. You get a bit of a flash when he does one of those. You don't see it happen, but they tease you, little tantalizing flash on the screen. But still, yeah, look and feel. Look, I'm going to go ahead and give look and feel a 3. Because while it wasn't hitting the heights, it wasn't super low budget, and it looked and kind of felt like what it should. So yeah, it's done what it needs to do. It gets a 3. Script and dialogue. Okay, alright. This was all sorts of ham and cheese sandwich. This was bad. But at the same time, it's the sort of bad that you're enjoying. But let's not make any mistake here. This was bad. Also, this is a comedy. This is an action comedy. And I think it was intentional. I can't see this movie being written the way it was and them not being aware that it's funny. We've got some amazing lines in this movie, and most of the good ones are from Zangief. He is presented as such a moron, but such a good-natured moron. But he's a bad guy. But it turns out at the end, he wasn't really aware he was a bad guy. He was lied to. He thought he was a good guy, and he honestly believed that. And they're classic joke lines. Again, there's no way these are accidental. These aren't bad and then funny. These are intentionally funny and kind of bad. But still, Bison's grand speeches are over the top and very silly, but they're just engrossing because Raul Julia delivers them with absolute sincerity. He's putting all into this. He doesn't need to. He probably shouldn't be, but he is. He's very professional. But yes, it is corny, it is cheesy, often out of place, slightly off time, and some of the scenarios and sequences are just pathetic. But it still fits together. It's all references to all the other movies. There's Good Morning Vietnam, there's Apocalypse Now, there's Star Wars, there's Godzilla. That's funny. You've got 2 support soldiers, they're Japanese characters. They come in, they're chatting away in Japanese. They're in one of the security booths for Bison's lair. And I don't know what they're saying. I'm going to find out what they're saying. I might go back and put the subtitles on. And they punch up this video feed. And it shows Honda and Zangief brawling away in this room where this little miniature city was that Bison was displaying as his future palace. And the angle of the camera and the style of the footage looks like they're fighting on a Godzilla set. And then they use the special effects and the sound effects from a Godzilla movie and the slow motion falling and tumbling and crashing to the ground, Godzilla style, of these two big lads punching on in a tiny city. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they've gotten, again, been this clever in this movie, but it's great. And then I gotta make the disclaimer that actually, no, it's not great. This is a bad movie. This is a terrible film. This is not well made in so many respects. But at the same time, I had far too much fun with this train wreck of a film. I'll be giving script and dialogue a 2.75. It would normally be a lot lower for just the poor quality of dialogue and everything else. But the writers knew what they were doing. Whoever wrote this knew exactly what they were working with. I can't give it good, but it could have been so much worse. Zangief makes me laugh. Fun factor, I had a very good time with this piece of trash. Look, this is rubbish, man, but it tried its best. It gave you a story. It's everything I liked about the 70s and 80s TV shows. All in one, all just mashed together. It's silly. But yeah, look, no, fun factor. Did I have fun? What do you reckon? Yeah, I did. Fun factor is a 3. Oh, dear me. Final score. Well, you add all these up and you get a 14.25. I don't know how I feel about that. I was honest in all of my scores. And here we are giving Street Fighter a 14.25. Maybe some of my friends are right. Maybe I do score things too highly. Would I recommend this movie? Yes. But you gotta know what you're in for. I would recommend this with a warning. Is it really that long? Did I say 2 hours and 42 minutes at the start of this? Nearly 3 hours? No. No, 101 minutes. No way it's 2.5, nearly 3 hours. Anyway, that's my review of this delightfully terrible film. I had a lot more fun than I was expecting to have with this movie, and I hope you've had some fun watching me babble on about it. Like, subscribe, and comment. Please feel free to share my review around, and most importantly, I hope you're having a great week, and that you find some time to go and watch a movie. Give this mess a crack.